Today on Oklahoma Gardening, it's time for tea, or at least it's time for us to tell you about our tea theme garden. Tea is the second most popular drink in the entire world, next only to water. The Chinese have been enjoying tea for over 5,000 years, and legend has it that in 2737 BC, the Emperor Shi Nung was about to drink some water that he had been boiling, probably to kill the bacteria and purify it. Well, while he was boiling the water, some leaves from an overhead Camellia sinensis fell into the pan. He saw the brew, the color, and thought it looked interesting, so he tasted it, and he found out what millions of us now know, that tea is both refreshing and delicious, and thus this important drink that has played out in history was born. Well, it wasn't until 1904 that iced tea came along. It was at the World's Fair in St. Louis. It was hot, it was summertime, and one of the vendors decided to put ice cubes into the tea to make a cool drink, and it was an instant hit. And it's definitely a popular drink among all of us here in the South. Well, tea is made of the tea plant, or the Camellia sinensis. Right here I've got a few leaves, and you can see from the tea bag here some of the ground leaves of the Camellia sinensis. It is the source of both green tea and black tea. And over here in our tea theme garden for this year, we have a Camellia sinensis plant growing here right next to a few of our other plants. It is a broadleaf evergreen, and a lot of you may be familiar with the ornamental camellias that bloom in either late fall, winter, or early spring with white, red, and pink flowers. Well, this is a very similar and closely related species. And right down here it does have a flower on it right now. You can see it is attractive, white, and it's got those yellow stamens there. But sometimes the regular tea plant, Camellia sinensis, also comes in the color pink. Now these are hardy to zone 7, so they will overwinter in parts of Oklahoma, the southern half most notably, but they're not going to be vigorous enough for you to be able to harvest the leaves and grow your own tea. Well, here in this theme garden, we have several other plants that can be used to brew tea, and a lot of these we refer to as herbal teas. Right here we've got lemongrass, and this is a tender tropical grass that we talked about on our program last year. It's used a lot in Asian cooking, but it smells so lemony. Has the similar compounds that the citrus lemons have in them, so you can make a really nice lemon tea from lemongrass. Right down here we've got a plant that a lot of you may be familiar with. This is alfalfa. A lot of our farmers and ranchers grow this plant for forage, to make hay for cattle and horses, other livestock, but it can be used to brew tea. Alfalfa is native to the Mediterranean region and parts of Asia, but the young leaves in spring and early summer can be harvested to make a tea with, and it's claimed to be a cure for jaundice. Right back here we've got some rosemary. Right down here we've got some thyme, and these two herbs can be used to make some nice herbal teas. Right down here we've got a very low-growing mat-like perennial. This is Roman chamomile. It has little white daisies with yellow centers, and it's used to brew a tea, but it has sort of a bitter taste, so it's more of a medicinal tea. The Roman chamomile has sort of an apple type fragrance, and for that reason it's used sometimes in shampoos and hair rinses. There's kind of a controversy as to whether Roman chamomile or German chamomile, a similar plant, are the which one has the most benefit when used as a medicinal tea. The German chamomile does taste a little better. Well, right down here we've got lamb's ears, and you may not think that lamb's ears could be used to brew tea. You don't really use the leaves of lamb's ears. You actually let the flowers form, and the flowers of lamb's ears can be collected and made into a mild tea. Now we usually cut off the leaves or the flower stalks of our lamb's ears plant, but if you want to make a tea, you'll have to let those flower stalks develop. Well, right back here we've got a couple of mints in our garden that can be used to make tea with. Right here we've got a spicy spearmint known as mint julep, and it can be used to brew the or make the perfect mint julep. Right back here we've got another mint known as blue balsam mint. Again, a nice flavored mint that can be used to make tea or to add some flavor to lemonade. Now you got to be careful when planting mints in the garden because they are sort of the pit bull of the garden. They're very aggressive, and we've actually got ours planted in pots, and you can see the edge of the pot here, but also this kind of shows us that when you grow these aggressive plants, even in pots, you need to come back periodically and cut off any of those runners that sort of want to jump the fence. But you can see these are kind of rooted in, and they'll just keep rooting in and keep growing in the garden. So you got to be careful when planting the mints. Another plant in this garden that can be used to brew tea is the pineapple sage, Salvia elegans. It is a tender plant that gives us these beautiful bright red flowers in the fall. They attract hummingbirds to the garden, and then the foliage of this plant has just a delicious pineapple fragrance. Well, right over here we have a type of basil, and basils can be used to make tea. This one is called Sweet Danny, and it's a lemon-scented basil. This was an All-America selection winner back in 1998, and it can be used to make a wonderful lemon-flavored tea. The flowers of basil should, of course, be pinched off or removed during the growing season to keep the flavor at the best that it can be in the basil. Well, near the basil we have a couple other plants, some monardas. This is Monarda didyma, and it blooms with a red flower, and we don't have any flowers on the plant right now, but you can see this receptacle here has some of that red color in it. It has those exotic red flowers that also attract hummingbirds to the garden. The monardas have a plethora of names. In fact, this one, Monarda didyma, has 3 common names. It's known as Beebalm because of its popularity with bees. It's also known as Oswego Tea because the Oswego tribe of Native Americans would brew a tea out of this plant, and then later also by the colonists. And also goes by the name of bergamot because the fragrance is similar to a plant called bergamot orange, which is native to the Mediterranean. Another monarda that we have right over here near the basil is one that's actually native to Oklahoma. This is the lemon monarda, or Monarda citriodora, and as you might guess, it has a citrus type flavor to its foliage, and you can see its flowers are this lovely lavender or pink color. But the leaves can be brewed into tea. The leaves and flowers of the monardas can also be added to salads. Well, right back here we have an interesting plant. This is Russian broadleaf comfrey, and the medical or medicinal benefits of this plant are definitely legendary. It's supposed to have so many benefits and supposed to be a cure for almost anything. Well, I remember as a child, a friend of our family made us some comfrey tea, and I tasted it, and I thought it was literally the worst thing I'd ever tasted in my life. But if it tastes that bad, it's got to be good for you, right? I think the comfrey plant could make a nice ornamental with these really large leaves here in the garden, and you can see the flowers also of the comfrey are somewhat attractive, sort of a pale lavender, almost white. Well, the next time you're in the mood for some tea and you find your cupboard empty, maybe you could just go out into your garden and brew up some tea from some of these plants.